So my name is Ian. I lead field marketing and events at Writer. Who's heard of Writer? Just out of curiosity. 4 people. Awesome. You may or may have not seen our billboards on 101 and Van Ness. So just a little bit about me. I'm going to start off with, just a background. I've been in sales, luxury retail, and B2B tech marketing for about 15 and a half years. Primarily in the AI space. So I was at H2O for about 6 years building out our integrated marketing team there and kind of hopped around at Grid AI and finally landed at Writer. I'm a local Bay Area native, born and raised in the East Bay, Union City, if you know where that is. I currently reside in Sunnyvale with my partner and our 2 kids, plus our fur baby, Babushka. So about my generative AI journey, everything happened in 2020 in terms of COVID. My team was highly focused on in-person events. So I had to pivot them somehow and make them, I'd say, revenue, I made up this title, these digital revenue marketers focus on content creation. So one of the first technologies I used was Grammarly. Because we weren't generally content creators. I myself, probably not the best writer at the time. So I used Grammarly just to help the team write better. As that progressed, tools like Jasper, Copy AI, WordTune started to come about. And the number one use case I would use it for is repurposing, rewriting. And so I've been on this journey for about 2.5 years. And then I started to notice that the output started to be a little funky. Sometimes it didn't make sense of why things were being generated. And then OpenAI came out in November. Big, in terms of ChatGPT, obviously it was a huge moment for the industry. Then I left my job. I went to Bali. I kind of promised myself I would go to a company that I could relate to. That helps marketers, and that was Writer. So this was our first AI Leaders Forum event in San Francisco. Just tremendous momentum within our organization, and just a brief thing about Writer. So we are a enterprise AI platform built for the enterprise. Here, a few of our customers are based here in San Francisco. We raised a recent round in September. Series B, and we have about 200 customers based in enterprise. Some use cases: create, analyze, and govern. So those are kind of very popular use cases of how our enterprises uses Writer. So creating content from scratch and repurposing existing work, analyzing and finding answers to summarize different types of content from different data sources. And governing your content. So we like to call those your AI guardrails, keeping you compliant and having consistency within your brand. So my top 3, how I use generative AI every day. When I just can't think, sometimes it's difficult to put pen on paper. So some use cases I use Writer, campaign briefs, ideations on themes for an upcoming event, or difficult situations you need to get out of, which is kind of my favorite. So it's time to ask Writer. So Writer's web-based, so you could log in. Y'all could try it out for 2 weeks. Just log in with your Google email. Here, this is what the user face looks like. Let me just zoom in for you. 1 second. Whoops. Can you guys see that? Sweet. Okay, so one recent thing I did was we're going to an event called NRF. It's the National Retail Federation event. It's next week. And one of the things I tasked my team to do was, hey, you need to create a program brief for the sales team. And I'm like, use Writer. So one thing here's your context window where you enter the prompt. You could add a source, whether that's from your computer, a URL, which will scrape the website. You could paste in text. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on the NRF website, pull that in, add a source, put the URL, let that load, give it a second. And I already have my prompt ready here. So my tip for prompt crafting is speak or create a prompt that like you're speaking to a 2-year-old. So very prescriptive, very specific. So I did that. Give me a second. So create me a campaign brief for an upcoming event called NRF that I need to present to the sales team at a sales meeting. Focus on generating pipeline and new meetings for retail prospects. Focus on writers' generative AI capabilities. To enter. So it's similar to like the chat GPT interface, like an AI assistant. So just give it a minute to give your outputs. I'll go back to big screen. Let me zoom in for y'all on the back there. And let Writer give you a second. So I think one of the biggest differentiators with Writer and other tools is our large language models are the data that is trained on is business and writing data. So it sounds a lot more accurate. It sounds like more like a person in business that wrote this. So here's a quick overview of what this campaign brief look like. So there's the objective of the campaign, kind of outlining the target audience for you, key messages, some campaign channels and tactics, email marketing, social media advertising, content marketing, all the different details within a brief that you need to present to your sales team. So that's kind of one of the ways I use Writer at Writer, because we go to tons of events each year, or actually each month. All right, we go back to the slides. 2. So who loves building blogs? Just one person. Awesome. 2 people. Cool. So in terms of Writer's capabilities, it really allows me to use my expertise versus just focus on writing. As I said, I'm not the best writer, but with AI, kind of am. Ask Writer time. Any ideas or topics you want Writer to do a blog on? I heard mental health. Okay, cool. Let's go to Blog Builder. Let's say how to, maybe I'll get you guys' help. What should the blog title be about mental health? Yes. How to handle anxiety when... What's that? Oh, using fur babies. Okay. Using fur babies. And so you could optimize it for SEO. So you could put fur babies, Pomeranians, anxiety. You could also generate similar titles just using that click of a button. So furry friends, how Pomeranians can help manage anxiety. Pomeranian therapy, the anxiety reducing power of furry companions. I kind of like that. And then optional CTA. So what should the CTA be? How about adopt a puppy? How about that? Yeah, adopt now. There you go. Sweet. So next, as you create blogs, it'll create an outline for you. Sweet. So as that created the different kind of top line points, so how fur babies can help, how to choose the right fur baby, Pomeranians, the perfect anxiety relief, success stories, how fur babies helped real people, and where to adopt a fur baby. So if you're good with these points, or if you're not, you could kind of rearrange them, X them out, or add a new section. After key points, it'll start to generate a new kind of points under those. So then how fur babies can help. Fur babies provide unconditional love and companionship, reducing feelings of loneliness and isolation. So as you go through these different points within the main topics of your blog, you can regenerate them if you're not happy with those particular points, continually add a point under each section. And then lastly, depending on the internet. There you go. So you could use this draft all sectioned out for you. And of course, we like to say keeping humans in the loop. So obviously you would read this, add your spin. There you go. So on to the next use case for me and how I use Writer every day. So as an event marketer and kind of digital marketer, we used to do a lot of webinars and recordings of events. I used to spend hours, if not days, listening to recording over and over and over, trying to get insights from them. I wish I had this when I was back at H2O in 2017, because just the iterations and time it took, and it was a lot. But this is an exciting, this is kind of my favorite function within Writer, is the ability to summarize those recording within probably minutes. So ask Writer time. So for context, this is my first event at Writer. My CEO said, "Hey, can you record me on your phone?" And I'm like, "Great, I could upload this into YouTube, put it into Writer, and gather those insights within minutes." So I'm going to grab the YouTube link. So right up there. This is our recaps builder function. So you could either add a URL, you can upload any media file with those included there. You could paste the transcripts from a particular event as well. And then kind of recording type. Was it an event? Was it a sales meeting? Was it a customer success meeting, and the different parameters with each product, training, large-scale meeting like an all-hands, or small-scale meeting, team sync, or job interview. So really, Writer's kind of across your org in terms of who can use it or who should use it. All right. Here's that YouTube link. I'm going to name this AI. Let's call it Generative AI event in London. Actually, delete that. So this may take a minute, especially when the files are a bit longer. This is about a 33-minute talk, but I like to do this one live because it's pretty cool. So actually, this doesn't take too long, but it is going through the video and analyzing the voices of the speakers, and then using that to create this lovely outline. So here you go. Sometimes obviously you still have to tweak it. It was May Habib from CEO as a key speaker. Ranjan Roy is one of our key customers from a company called Adore Me, which is part of Victoria's Secret. It's a women's intimate apparel brand. And it kind of gives you the outline of the agenda. So what happened? Introduction to the companies and their use of AI. Discussion of how Writer has been helping Adore Me. Explanation of the process of automating product descriptions. This is a use case how they use Writer with us at scale. What I love about it is it gives you the takeaways from this particular talk. So one of the takeaways were generative AI played a significant role in automating and improving content production for the intimate apparel brand Adore Me. And you kind of go through this and see the different takeaways, quotes that Ranjan spoke about on his talk. Insights surfaced, key quotes, and my favorite part on top of this is you hit highlights. Let me zoom out there. So this will pull from the actual summarization here and give you the meta description for your website. Even pare it down further in terms of a summary, and then you have LinkedIn and Twitter posts ready to go. So it's really, a 40-minute talk that would probably take you a few hours to a few days, pared down to a few minutes, and getting those insights right away. And now our questions. Yeah, I think one of the differentiators within Writer is the data that it's trained on. I think GPT-4 is trained on the entire internet. So depending on what, they're talking about, our platform is really built for the enterprise and business writing. So the outputs may differ from that perspective. There's different tiers on how you use Writer. There's a kind of team version where you get kind of those basic functionalities of 25 apps for 2 weeks. If you look into like the enterprise platform, we could actually train an LLM based on your data, so it sounds like you. And so that could be a potential if you're interested in creating your own specific LLM with us. So you could dictate when you use Writer if you want to do kind of inclusivity words. So like, when you use Writer, when you put she or he, it kind of flags and says maybe put them, because we're from our style guide, we don't genderize or assume genders within our own style guide. So there's an ability to do that within Writer, so then it's not biased towards a specific, particularly gender. Yeah, and I think that's one thing. I always like to, whenever I'm generating content or using Writer or any other tool, is to really put my own spin on it, right? I think that's one thing I always try to say, and this word's kind of funky. I think the goal of Gen AI is not to do 100%, maybe like 80 to 90, and then put your spin on it to make it a little more interesting or showing off your expertise in that particular subject. So. And I think short form content could be interesting in terms of like LinkedIn. I think for us, since we're a writing company and we're a writer, so blogs do really well for our channel. We get a lot of value. Obviously, we use parts of it for Writer, but we also have a content team, right? So like, they are kind of the subject matter experts behind all of our content. So they know how to make it engaging. And obviously we integrate Writer into it. Like, for instance, we do like a summarization at top, like this blog is about A, B, and C, and it says summarized by Writer. So kind of integrating our tool with that content and making it not only kind of interesting in terms of reading, but in terms of the images we use, how it's branded on our website, how it's promoted. So I think that's one way. I think there's a lot of, I've been to lots of events, spoken to a lot of customers. It's just confusion and education. I think there's a lot of confusion in the market right now in terms of what tools to use. And I think one thing that Writer is pretty good at is just, for our content, having great content and explaining that. We're a very in-person company as well. So like we do tons of events. We like to meet customers in person. But in terms of an enterprise, I think it's just in general, it is a challenge for any like Series B startup to break into the enterprise, but we've had proven traction more recently of going up market and going to the enterprise. So. My CEO is probably going to be the amazing person to say this, but she was in AI and ML for about 10 years, and she had a company called Cordova prior. So it's similar in this space, machine learning translation. She saw the pivot in AI about 3 years ago. So she likes to say when before ChatGPT was cool, there was Writer. And so I think we did have a good solid customer base going into Writer before we rebranded. But our original ICP was actually marketers. Because from a marketing standpoint, I think marketers are probably a little more early to adopt, more open to new technologies, and just like the genesis of like content generation and where Writer was, it's just an easier grasp for them. As we're going to, up market and into the enterprise, we're targeting the CIOs and CTOs for more of a technical sale that will go kind of across the board versus just focusing on marketing. I think they're similar to other tools like ChatGPT. There is guardrails that we put up of like, things you can't say and can't do. Like obviously, if you ask it to do something unethical, it'll block it. So similar to other tools, I don't know the specifics of how we do that technically, but you can't ask it to do something illegal, for instance. So there are guardrails within Writer that will not allow you to do something bad. Depending on kind of like the use case, I think just from a demo perspective, that's one of like 26 or 27 templates within Writer that you could use. But I think I'm thinking top of my head, a few ways to kind of circumvent that kind of thing that Google is doing is downplaying it. Just take pieces of the content potentially, or put your own spin on it so it doesn't get flagged by Google, because Google's cracking down on a lot of things like email sends and all that fun stuff. So I think there's figuring out ways to kind of circumvent that from an AI generate point would be key. In terms of just like use cases, so one thing I love doing is creating a campaign out of those transcripts or out of those recaps. So for sales follow-up, that'd be amazing. For a BDR team to point to this would be also a use case that I would use. So that's just one of many, but that's my favorite one. I think definitely expansion into new markets. That's one for us. We are English based, right? So it has to be at an English speaking country. So I realize there's 5. There's the UK, there's Australia, there's Singapore, and there's Canada. So there's all the different kind of colloquial English they speak. Here's the one. Have you guys heard of 6 Sense? ABM marketing tool. I know we're coming close on time. So one of their use cases so they've inherited a lot of companies, maybe 3, sorry, not a lot. 3 companies in, I think it was like the last year. And they're one of our key customers or kind of bigger customers. And one of their goals was to rebrand all of that content, all of those blogs from those 3 companies to sound like it was from 6 Sense. And here was the outcome. 1 second. May have lost the slide. There it is. So they updated 100 blogs in 100 minutes using Writer with a 50% increase in writing output. So that's one of many. We have lots of stories online. I'm coming up on time. And one last fun thing, because I'm in marketing and events, if you look under your seats, there's 4 of you that will get a lovely Writer hat from me after we're done.